Hello? Can someone give me a trim?
Someone asked to be cut?
Yes. One haircut, please.
Okay, sure.
Nothing too short, please. Just a little, oh, what's that on your razor?
Blood? Strawberries? It's strawberries. Let me just wipe this off so we can get started.
So, are you an experienced barber?
Oh yes, I am very good at what I do. I really like to sever things.
Oh, wait a second. That reminds me of a topic that really confuses government contract professionals. Severable and non-severable services.
Government contracts?
If you enjoy pain, you'll love government contracting.
I do enjoy pain. Tell me more.
So first, we need to talk about something in fiscal law called the bona fide needs rule. This is very important. The discussion of severable versus non-severable services completely revolves around this bona fide needs rule. Now we know that bona fide means something genuine or real, right?
Bona fide needs. Makes me think of bones.
Well, the bona fide needs rule means that you have to use your funds during the period of availability. So for annual funds, like 1 year money, it restricts this year's appropriated funds from being used to fund next fiscal year's requirements. Annual funds appropriated for fiscal year 24, for example, are to be used to fund a legitimate or genuine or bona fide FY24 need. So you can't just write a contract in FY24 for something that you don't need until FY25. It's not genuine, man. It's not bona fide.
Bony.
So this applies to 1 year money, like operations and maintenance, O&M, or multi-year money, like procurement or R&D. 2 year money, for example, the bona fide need window is within those 2 years. So R&D that you spend in 2024 can be for something that you need in 2025. It can cross fiscal years because that's the period of availability for funds. You with me so far? What are you doing?
Sorry, I was just practicing for something.
Were you even listening to what I was saying?
Please continue.
So, Barbara, bona fide needs becomes a big issue at the end of every fiscal year, especially recently when money started becoming more and more late, like getting to the agencies around Q2. By the fourth quarter, offices are already thinking about what their needs are in the following year. So, if they get all this money in the middle of the year, how do they have a bona fide need for things that can't cross over? How does bona fide needs apply? They have to spend all their money for services that have to stop no later than 30 September? Well, it depends on whether the contracted services are severable or non-severable.
I like severable.
Okay, well, let's talk about that one first. A severable service represents a service that is continuing and recurring in nature, where the agency realizes a benefit at the time that the service is provided, even if the contract has not been performed to completion. A service is considered severable if it can be separated into a component that independently provides value to meet an agency's need. A non-severable service represents a single undertaking, like a project, that cannot be feasibly subdivided. If the service produces a single or unified outcome, product, report, the service is considered non-severable. That's the difference between severable and non-severable services. Make sense?
I think so. Let me give you an example. See if I got this right. Let's say a friend of mine is a barber/serial killer. She gets arrested with 5 counts of murder and 1 count of aggravated assault. The assault charge was dropped. So was it severable?
Almost. Let's use a less terrifying example. I'm so glad I brought these charts with me to the barbershop. Now, these different runners represent different racing events. Let's look at severable services first and look at these runners.
Who are they running from?
Not running from anybody, it's just a race. For severable services, these are all separate racing events. Now, if I cut the line in September, then these other races still retain their value in 2024. They can be severed, no problem. We'll get to a major exception to this in a minute. But the basic rule is that these are severable services, and races that happen in FY24 cannot be spent with FY25 money, which means that the contract has to stop here. The FY24 events need to be used with FY24 money, and the FY25 events, since they are independent events, should be used with FY25 funds. Other examples could be IT support services or landscaping services. Even if you cut these services in half or sever them, you'll still have gotten the value of the IT support or landscaping from the previous months.
I'm listening.
Okay, going back to the racing event, here's how they can be non-severable. Let's say we want to create a contract for a large competition, maybe a national championship, that culminates in a final event that happens the following year, but starts in the current year. If I cut the event in September and I don't fund the remaining races, well, I really kill the tournament. And these past races completely lose their value. Everything was supposed to be pushing toward this final culminating event. Each of these separate events were really dependent on that final event happening. They really can't be severed. They're non-severable. This means that you're permitted and actually required to fully fund the entire event on the year that it starts. Now, the downside is that you should not be incrementally funding. And if you do, you need to use the funds from the year that the project started, which is FY24 in this case.
I see. That was great. Let's do this thing.
Oh, wait. I forgot to talk about the one-year rule for annual funds. There is a way severable services can cross fiscal years.
For severable services? Whoa, this challenges everything I've known about a bona fide needs rule in the last 3 minutes.
Stick with me. The one-year exception to the bona fide needs rule in government contracting allows agencies to fund and enter into contracts for severable services that span more than one fiscal year. This exception permits agencies to allocate funds for the full term of such contracts, even if the performance and payment obligation extends beyond the current fiscal year. It really provides flexibility to ensure uninterrupted services without violating the bona fide needs rule. Now, this is only with annual funds. This is outlined in 41 U.S.C. 3902 and the FAR 32.703-3B. Read your FAR, knowledge is power. So really they created the rule because money started coming in late or procurement was slow, and by the time contracts were out, they didn't have time to use severable services. All these annual contracts would have needed to be created in October to get the full yearly services, and that just can't happen in our environment. So the rule was really used to handle some dysfunctional aspects of our bureaucracy.
Dysfunctional is the word I would use to describe my upbringing.
That's really sad. So let's say you have RDT&E money. That's multi-year funds, 2 years. And let's say you are on your second year and you want to create a contract from here in June all the way crossing the fiscal years. Well, the exception would not apply. In order for you to cross those fiscal years, you'd have to define your requirement as a non-severable services. And for that, it's all about telling your story. Maybe another time for another video.
Wow. Well, all this is very insightful. Thanks for sharing. Now what about that cut?
Oh, sorry. I just realized I'm supposed to meet with someone that I met online.
Are you, Will?
Yep.
Ready to go, bowling?
Yep, let's do it.
Good ones are always taken. Baby, you're my sole source.